All right. Well, welcome to Laser Focus. This is a series of one-on-one interviews with equine veterinary industry leaders. I ask 3 questions, and we try to do it in about 5 minutes or less. My name is RJ Poston. I'm with Sound and Tech and Mars. Today, we have Dr. Sherry Johnson, our good friend. And Dr. Johnson, welcome. It's always good to see you. Do me a favor, give us a brief overview of who you are, where you practice, so forth.
Hi, RJ. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Sherry Johnson. I am a partner and managing veterinarian of Equine Sports Medicine and Rehab, also known as ESMR, located in Whitesboro, Texas. We also have a mobile unit that's affiliated with our practice that travels the quarter horse circuit. So we do quite a bit of at-horse show work as well. I'm also a PhD candidate at Colorado State University and doing my research based in rehab modalities related to tendon healing.
I've seen that beautiful big truck you guys drive around. It's amazing.
We're very proud of it. Yes.
Well, I'll jump right in as promised. Question number 1, the regenerative laser. How does it align in North Texas, your rehab facility and your program there? And give us a little insight into what you call the global approach.
Yeah, well, I think that's a great question, RJ. I strategically use the laser. And the first thing that I always tell people is, look, the rehab program is not centered around any one particular machine. And that includes a laser, that includes an underwater treadmill or a spa. Whatever that machine is, that does not actually define your rehab program and the likely success of your rehab program. What does define is the strategic use and its incorporation into a global approach. So considering not only the injury itself that you're treating, but all of the comorbidities that come along with that. And that can be secondary muscle pain, muscle weakness, functional losses, loss of proprioception, balance, neuromotor control. All of those things combined are really what define the cascade of injury. So if you're only tackling one of those things, say the pain with the laser, and you're not approaching any of the other comorbidities, your likelihood of success is much lower. So I use the laser, I would say most heavily in the acute phases of injury or within the acute postoperative period. And I do it in order to mitigate that pain, to manage the pain, and start to mobilize these patients sooner. I'm not a big stall rest person. That's not really a thing that I do unless there's, an injury that's that serious. But the quicker that I can mobilize these patients and the quicker I can promote a more pain-free status and get them moving is really the direction that I try to go. And the laser helps me accomplish that.
Fantastic. I could ask you 20 more questions on that, but
5 minutes, RJ. You said 5 minutes.
Well, question number 2, I guess kind of goes into that a little bit, is if you can tell us at what point maybe you're seeing a difference, maybe clinically. You're using for the most part a multimodal game plan, but is there kind of a point where you're seeing a difference?
I think within the first 2 to 3 weeks that I initiate laser therapy sessions, I'm seeing a difference. And mostly that comes back to the fact that I'm using it within that, again, acute injury phase, acute postoperative period. So it's fun to watch those horses' transformation from that really painful, I don't want to move and I don't move, so then I don't use myself, and then I don't use myself because I don't move. It's fun to watch them go through that transformation of early mobilization and getting more comfortable and developing more confidence within a limb. But really, I would say within the first, 2 to 3 weeks, I'm seeing results. And if I'm not seeing results, I go back to the drawing board, meaning there's something that I've missed. There's something that needs addressing at a higher level. But I'm always very inwardly critical of every single case that I have, and I expect perfection, right? So really being critical of that rehab process and of the dynamic progress.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because it kind of flows into the next question. You talk about mobility, and we've learned a lot from the human side about getting mobile faster, right? The third and final question, and I love this one because TMI, and that means Translational Medicine Institute, and that's there at CSU. And this is a wonderful program, and I'll put some links or something on here so people can follow this. But um, where do you see, and how so, kind of the coming together or the melding of RLT technology, regenerative laser therapy, with some of these, human injuries, human maladies that we see, um, with regenerating tissue or in the sports medicine realm?
Yeah, well, this is actually the favorite question of mine that you've asked, RJ. And the reason is through my PhD work, I spend a lot of time working closely with human physical therapy experts and rehab specialists that are working with the elite athletes at the highest level of their careers. So those professional level athletes. And I'm constantly picking their brain, right? Of like, what are you guys doing on your side of things that we can use and bring over to the equine side of things to optimize these athletes? Because the reality is that there's so many similarities. And I have a very good inside source, that says the biggest thing that's of focus within the human athletic world right now is measuring workload, and really strategizing when an athlete is in their prime or when they're in their peak, and how do they manage the active recovery. So what defines an active recovery, and then how do we gear them up towards hitting their peak? And if you think about it, the horses are exactly the same. When do we manage them from an exercise perspective in order to prime them to get them to their peak, and but not overly push those tissues, right? It's like $1 million question. And on the human side of things, it all goes back to contract negotiation. It goes back to TV time. It goes back to all of these really important factors. And our equine athletes are exactly the same. And so taking that concept and tying it back, to the lasers are already in heavy use within the human athletic world, and they have been for a very long time, whether it's the class 3 lasers or the class 4s, like the sound RLT laser. And they've already shown on the human side of things that the use of particularly low level laser therapy affects repetitions to fatigue. It affects, in a good way, recovery time and all of those exercise parameters. So taking that concept and putting it for our equine athletes, that's really the direction that I see things going. I think that we will take on a very individualized approach like they have on the human side of things. And I think we'll start to strategically use the laser, not just for the down and out injured rehab horse, but also that athlete that's competing at a really high level and trying to stay at that high level in absence of injury. And I always tell my clients, I want to work on the prevention status. I don't want to have to work on the intervention status. I don't want to have to do something because I have to intervene. I'd much more rather be on the preventative side of things and trying to get ahead of injury and mitigate those days out of competition. So I do see the RLT laser as being a key component of that approach.
Yeah, you're kind of hitting on maybe some pre-performance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, that's a lot, man. You should do a talk on this one subject. So anyway, maybe we'll have you back again, and we can just talk about the Translational Medicine Institute and
Yeah. A lot
everything.
of cool stuff happening there. It's
Yeah.
a lot of cool things in the works.
It's a
So
beautiful, beautiful facility. So,
yeah.
well, that's it. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate having you, and we'll have you again. And hope to see you soon. Be safe out there. Thanks
Thank
for.
you, RJ.
Bye bye.